Good afternoon. Could I have your full name, please?
Yes, my name is Yuja. You can call me Ja.
Thank you, Jia. Let's talk a little about your work. What do you do?
I work as a marketing coordinator at a small company, so I mostly write content and manage social media. It's pretty busy, but I enjoy it.
Do you usually use public transport to get to work?
Yeah, every day. I take the subway because it's faster than driving. The station near my office is like super busy in the morning, honestly.
Now, I'd like you to talk about a topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to prepare. You can make some notes if you wish. Here's your topic. Describe a time you helped someone you didn't know. You should say who the person was, what kind of help they needed, what you did, and explain how you felt afterwards. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay, so I want to talk about a time I helped a tourist at the subway station. This was about 2 months ago in the morning. I was on my way to work, and there was this woman, maybe in her 60s, standing in front of the map looking really lost. I didn't know her, but I could tell she was struggling with the map app. It kept showing an error. So I went up and asked if she needed help. Turned out she was trying to get to a hospital to visit a friend, but had no idea which line to take. To be honest, I'm not great with the map either, but we worked it out together, and in the end, I walked her to the right platform. She kept saying thank you, like 10 times, and that just made me feel really good. Looking back, the whole thing took maybe 5 minutes, but it's the kind of thing that just makes your morning. I'd help again without even thinking about it.
A warm, friendly British English host in his late 30s, a favourite teacher chatting with a student, conversational pacing, a light smile in the voice, natural contractions, not formal, not lecturing, approachable and relaxed. Thank you. Let's talk a bit more broadly about helping strangers. Do you think people in big cities are less likely to help strangers than in small towns?
I think it's probably true, yeah. In big cities, people are usually in a hurry, so they don't really notice. But in small towns, everyone kind of knows each other, so helping is more natural. Honestly, even in big cities, if you ask directly, most people will help.
And what kinds of help do people commonly need from strangers?
I think the most common one is directions, like getting lost or finding a station. Also things like carrying heavy bags or holding a door for someone. These small things, they don't really cost anything, so most people are happy to help with that.
Do you think technology has changed the way we help others?
Yeah, definitely. Now everyone has phones, so people don't really need to ask for directions as much. But also, technology helps in other ways, like apps that connect volunteers to people who need help. So it's both, I guess. Less small help, more big help, kind of.
Thank you, Gia. That's the end of the speaking test.
All right, nice work there, Gia. Before we wrap up, let's go back and look at a few of the expressions you used. I want you to really lock these in.
Yes, please. I'd love to get these down properly.
First up, struggling with. Now, Gia, what kind of moment does this phrase actually describe?
Like when you're having a hard time with something and you can't quite get it to work?
Exactly. It's a collocation that signals a specific kind of difficulty, usually with a thing or a task, not with abstract feelings. The word with is doing real grammatical work here.
Oh, interesting. So it pairs with a noun, like an app or a task, not just any difficulty.
Right. You used it well in your part 2. You said, quote, I could tell she was struggling with the map app. Concrete, specific, the listener immediately pictures the moment.
Yeah, I wanted something more vivid than just saying she had a problem with it.
And that's the band lift. Band 6 candidates often default to she had a problem. Fine, but flat. Struggling with adds visible effort. You can almost see her tapping the screen.
So is there anything I should watch out for when I use this in other answers?
Just match it to a concrete thing. Struggling with the homework, struggling with the printer. Don't pair it with abstract nouns like happiness or success. That sounds odd. One more to bank. My grandfather has been struggling with his new smartphone for weeks. Try saying it.
My grandfather has been struggling with his new smartphone for weeks.
Beautiful. That's yours now.
Second one. Went up and. Gia, what does this little phrase actually do in a sentence?
I think it's like taking the initiative to talk to someone you don't know, walking over to them.
Exactly. It compresses, I made the decision to approach them and then I did it, into 3 words. Very natural for narrative answers about meeting people or stepping in to help.
Oh, so it's not just movement. It's about choosing to act on something.
Right. And you used it perfectly in your part 2. You said, quote, I went up and asked if she needed help. That's a complete narrative beat in just 5 words.
Yeah, the alternative would have been just I asked her, which feels too quick somehow.
And that's exactly the lift. I asked is bare. No decision, no movement. I went up and asked shows you noticed, decided, then acted. Examiners reward narrative texture like that.
So I should mostly use this when I'm talking about approaching someone face to face.
Yes, physical approach, in-person moments. Don't use it for emails or messages. I went up and emailed her sounds wrong because there's no physical going up. One more to bank. I saw the kid was upset, so I went up and asked if everything was okay. Try it.
I saw the kid was upset, so I went up and asked if everything was okay.
Lovely. Use it whenever you describe approaching someone.
Third up, to be honest. Gia, why do you think native speakers reach for this phrase so often?
I think it's like signaling that what you're about to say is actually how you feel, not just polite.
Exactly. It's a discourse marker that adds a layer of authenticity. The speaker is saying, okay, putting politeness aside, here's the real version. It humanizes whatever comes after.
Oh, so it's almost like opening a small door to a more personal answer.
Beautifully put. And you used it well in your part 2. You said, to be honest, I'm not great with the map either. That single hedge made the whole answer feel more real.
Yeah, I figured admitting I wasn't perfect would sound more natural than pretending I knew everything.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 6 candidates often try to sound confident about everything, which paradoxically sounds rehearsed. A small hedge like to be honest breaks that and reads as authentic.
So I shouldn't overuse it though, right? Otherwise it loses meaning.
Exactly. Once or twice per long answer is the sweet spot. Use it when you're about to say something a bit unflattering or contrarian. That's where it does its best work. One more to bank. To be honest, I didn't enjoy that movie as much as everyone said I would. Try it.
To be honest, I didn't enjoy that movie as much as everyone said I would.
Perfect. That's a band 6 hedge in your toolkit.
Last one. The kind of thing that. Gia, what role does this phrase play in a sentence?
I think it's used to make a single moment feel like it represents a bigger pattern or category.
Exactly that. It zooms out from a specific event to a general observation. You're saying, this isn't just one thing, it belongs to a recognizable type. That move signals reflection.
Oh, so it's almost like turning a memory into a small life lesson without sounding preachy.
Spot on. And you used it really well in your part 2 closer. You said, quote, it's the kind of thing that just makes your morning. That's a band 7 leaning closing line.
Yeah, I wanted to land the answer on something a bit reflective rather than just stopping suddenly.
And that's the band lift right there. Band 6 candidates often end stories abruptly. The kind of thing that lets you generalize the moment, which gives the answer a structural sense of closure.
Are there any patterns where I shouldn't use this? Like situations it doesn't fit?
Yes, don't use it for one-off events that genuinely don't fit a pattern. Winning the lottery is the kind of thing that happens to me. Sounds odd because it's not a recurring category. One more to bank. A quick coffee with an old friend is the kind of thing that resets your whole week. Try it.
A quick coffee with an old friend is the kind of thing that resets your whole week.
Beautiful. That's a band 6 closer right there.
Good afternoon. Could I have your full name, please?
Yes, my name is Gia. You can call me Gia.
Thank you, Gia. Let's talk a little about your work. What kind of work do you do?
I'd say I'm a product manager at a small tech company. So I spend most of my time working with engineers and designers, kind of, deciding what to build next. It's busy, but I genuinely enjoy the variety.
And do you usually have time for hobbies outside of work?
I try to.
I'd say weekends are mostly for catching up with friends or just walking around the city. I've been getting into pottery recently, which is surprisingly relaxing, probably because there's no screen involved.
Now, I'd like you to talk about a topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to prepare. You can make some notes if you wish. Here's your topic. Describe a skill you would like to learn. You should say what the skill is, why you want to learn it, how you plan to learn it, and explain how it would change your life. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay, so the skill I'd love to actually master is public speaking, like giving presentations confidently in front of a room. This has been on my mind for about a year now. The thing is, at work, I do most of my communication through slides and Slack messages, so I've kind of avoided live presentations. To be honest, I don't really have a knack for it. When I have to speak in front of more than 5 people, my voice goes up about an octave and I forget half of what I planned to say. Last year, my manager asked me to present a campaign update to the whole team. It was a small group, maybe 15 people, but I completely froze. I read off the slides word for word, and afterwards, I felt like I'd let everyone down. That was kind of the wake-up call I needed. So a few months ago, I threw myself into it. I joined a small public speaking group that meets every 2 weeks, and I started watching short TED Talks every morning while making coffee. It really pushed me out of my comfort zone, especially the first time I had to give a 5-minute talk on something personal. But I'd say I'm slowly getting there. I've still got a long way to go, but I can already feel the difference. I don't dread meetings the same way.
Let's talk a bit more broadly about skills. What kinds of skills do you think are most useful in today's workplace?
I'd say the biggest one is communication, honestly. Even technical jobs now require you to explain things clearly to non-experts, whether that's in a meeting or a Slack thread. On top of that, the ability to learn quickly, because what's relevant changes so fast that specific knowledge dates within a few years.
A warm, friendly British English host in his late 30s, a favourite teacher chatting with a student. And should schools focus more on practical skills or on academic knowledge?
I think it's a bit of a false choice in some ways. The strongest education combines both. Practical skills give you confidence and immediate usefulness, but academic knowledge gives you the framework to keep learning. That said, schools probably overweight the academic side, so a small shift toward practical might help.
Is it ever too late to learn a new skill?
Definitely not. And I think that's becoming more obvious every year. With online courses and YouTube tutorials, the barrier to learning something new has dropped massively. The harder part is finding time and motivation, which has nothing to do with age, really.
Thank you, Gia. That's the end of the speaking test.
All right, nice work there, Gia. Before we wrap up, let's go back and look at a few of the expressions you used. I want you to really lock these in.
Yes, please. I'd love to get these down properly.
First up, have a knack for. Now, Gia, what does this collocation actually describe?
I think it's like having a natural talent for something that comes easy to you.
Exactly. It describes a genuine aptitude, the kind of thing you didn't have to work hard for. And the most interesting use is actually in the negative form, admitting you don't have it.
Oh, interesting. So the negative version is more useful for self-aware honesty?
Right. And you used it perfectly in your part 2. You said, quote, "I don't really have a knack for it." That single line does so much work. It admits weakness without sounding like an excuse.
Yeah, I wanted something more thoughtful than just saying I'm bad at speaking.
And that's the band lift right there. I'm not good at it is bare. I don't have a knack for it adds rhythm and self-awareness. Examiners read the second as someone who actually thinks about their own development.
Are there contexts where this expression sounds wrong or out of place?
Yes, don't use it for one-off events. I had a knack for that exam sounds odd because the phrase is about patterns, not single moments. Pair it with skill-style nouns or ing phrases. One more to bank. She has a real knack for picking up accents. She sounded local within a month. Try it.
She has a real knack for picking up accents. She sounded local within a month.
Beautiful. That's yours now. Second one, threw myself into. Gia, what energy does this phrasal carry?
I think it sounds like really committing to something with full energy, not just casually starting it.
Exactly. It compresses "I made the decision and gave it everything I had" into 3 words, much stronger than "I started doing it" or "I worked hard at it."
Oh, so it's not just about doing the thing, it's about the emotional buy-in too.
Beautifully put. And you used it really well in your part 2. You said, quote, "I threw myself into it. I joined a small public speaking group." The phrase makes the listener feel your commitment immediately.
Yeah, I wanted to convey that this wasn't a casual half-effort thing.
And that's the band lift. "I started taking classes" is bare information. "I threw myself into it" shows you decided, then committed. Examiners reward narrative energy like that.
Should I save this for big projects or can I use it for smaller things too?
Save it for things that took sustained energy. Projects, recovery efforts, training. Don't use it for trivial activities like "I threw myself into making dinner." The imagery is too dramatic for small things. One more to bank. After the breakup, I threw myself into work. It was the only thing that kept me going.
After the breakup, I threw myself into work. It was the only thing that kept me going.
Lovely. That's a Band 7 narrative phrasal in your toolkit. Third up, out of my comfort zone. Gia, what kind of moment does this idiom describe?
I think it's when you're doing something unfamiliar that pushes you to grow, even though it's uncomfortable.
Exactly. The metaphor is spatial. Your comfort zone is a familiar territory, and stepping out of it means deliberately moving into challenge. Crucially, it frames difficulty as growth, not suffering.
Oh, so it has this quietly positive tone, even when describing something hard.
Right, and you used it perfectly in your part 2. You said, quote, "It really pushed me out of my comfort zone, especially the first time I had to give a 5-minute talk." The image lands instantly.
Yeah, I wanted to describe the difficulty without sounding like I was complaining.
And that's the band lift. "It was difficult for me" is bare and slightly negative. "Out of my comfort zone" acknowledges the same difficulty but reframes it as growth, which is exactly the tone examiners reward.
Is there a particular sentence pattern that makes this phrase land best?
Yes, pair it with active verbs. Pushed me out of, stepped out of, forced me out of. The metaphor is movement-based, so the active framing makes the image vivid. Static, "I was out of my comfort zone," feels weaker. One more to bank. "Speaking up in those meetings really pushed me out of my comfort zone, but I'm grateful for it now."
Speaking up in those meetings really pushed me out of my comfort zone, but I'm grateful for it now.
Beautiful. That's a Band 7 idiom in your toolkit. Last one, a long way to go. Gia, what feeling does this phrase carry when someone uses it?
I think it's like saying you've made progress, but you know you're not finished yet. Kind of humble.
Exactly. It holds 2 ideas at once, progress made and distance remaining. The metaphor of a journey turns a flat self-assessment into reflective storytelling, which is quietly sophisticated.
Oh, so it's more powerful than just saying I'm still learning?
Much more. Still learning is true but flat. I've still got a long way to go adds rhythm, humility, and a sense of forward motion in the same 5 words. That's why it works as a closer.
Yeah, I wanted to wrap up the answer with something that didn't feel too final.
And that's the band lift. You used it perfectly in your part 2. You said, quote, "I've still got a long way to go, but I can already feel the difference." That sentence balances humility and progress beautifully.
Are there places where this phrase wouldn't fit, where it might sound off?
Don't use it right after you've stated you achieved something. "I just got my driving license, I've still got a long way to go," confuses the listener. The contrast clashes. Save it for ongoing journeys, not finished ones. One more to bank. "My Spanish has improved a lot this year, but I've still got a long way to go before I'd call myself fluent."
My Spanish has improved a lot this year, but I've still got a long way to go before I'd call myself fluent.
Perfect. That's a Band 7 closer right there.
Good afternoon. Could I have your full name, please?
Yes, my name is Gia. You can call me Gia.
Thank you, Gia. Let's talk a little about where you live. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
I'd say I live in a small apartment in the city on the top floor. It gets a lot of light, which I love.
It's not big, but it's enough for just me.
And do you spend a lot of time at home, or are you usually out?
Honestly, I'm out most weekdays, long hours at the office, but every now and then I'll just block out a Sunday and not leave the apartment at all. That's when I really recharge.
Oh, I'd like you to talk about a topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to prepare. You can make some notes if you wish. Here's your topic. Describe a place you go to relax. You should say where the place is, when you usually go there, what you do when you are there, and explain why this place helps you relax. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay, so the place I want to talk about is a small public garden tucked away behind my office building. Not many people know about it. You'd walk past it on the main street and never notice. I found it almost by accident, maybe 2 years ago, when I was looking for a quiet spot to eat lunch. It's nothing fancy, just a few benches around a little fountain and some old trees, but it's surprisingly green for a city center spot. I usually go there on my lunch break, 2 or 3 times a week when work is heavy. The thing is, my job is nonstop screens and meetings, so by midday, my brain is just fried. Walking down to the garden, I just need to switch off, even for 15 minutes. I leave my phone in my bag, grab a coffee from the place next door, and just sit. Sometimes I read, but more often I just kind of watch the trees move. What makes it work for me is partly the silence. You can actually hear the fountain, which is rare in this part of the city. To be honest, on really stressful days, even 10 minutes there can do the trick. I come back to the office feeling like I can handle the afternoon. It's become this little reset button I didn't know I needed.
Let's talk a bit more broadly about relaxation. Why do you think people in modern cities find it harder to relax than they used to?
Yeah, I think there's just way too much stimulation, honestly. Phones buzzing, work emails arriving on weekends, kind of constant noise everywhere. Also, a lot of cities don't really have much green space close to where people actually live, so you have to actively plan to escape. Relaxation isn't just built into the day anymore.
And do you think people relax in different ways depending on their age?
Definitely. Younger people, like in their 20s, often relax through socializing, meeting friends, going out, going to cafes. Older people, I think, lean more toward quiet things, like gardening or reading at home. It's not a hard rule, but yeah, the patterns are pretty different.
Is the way we relax today better or worse than in the past?
That's a tough one. I'd say in some ways it's better. We have more options, like apps for meditation, or easy access to nature on weekends. But in other ways, it's worse, because phones make it really hard to fully disconnect. Honestly, I think the tools are good, but we don't always use them well.
Thank you, Gia. That's the end of the speaking test.
All right, nice work there, Gia. Before we wrap up, let's go back and look at a few of the expressions you used. I want you to really lock these in.
Yes, please. I'd love to get these down properly.
First up, tucked away. Now, Gia, what kind of place does this phrase actually describe?
I think it's like a small place that's gently hidden. You wouldn't really notice it if you walked past.
Exactly. It's a collocation that paints a small physical image, something quietly out of sight from the main path. The phrase almost makes the listener picture the place.
Oh, nice. So it's not just small, it's actively hidden, like the place is choosing to stay out of view.
Right. And you used it really well in your part 2. You said, quote, "A small public garden tucked away behind my office building." 2 words, and the listener can already picture it.
Yeah, I wanted something more vivid than just calling it small or quiet, you know?
And that's exactly the lift. Band 6 candidates default to, "It is a small and quiet place," flat. Tucked away adds that sense of intentional concealment, which examiners notice instantly.
Is there anything I should watch out for when I use this in other answers?
Yes, always pair it with a preposition. Tucked away behind, tucked away down a side street, tucked away in the corner of. Used alone, it sounds incomplete. One more to bank. There's a tiny bookshop tucked away behind the train station that sells only second-hand novels. Try saying it.
There's a tiny bookshop tucked away behind the train station that sells only second-hand novels.
Beautiful. That's yours now. Second one, switch off. Gia, what kind of moment does this phrasal verb describe?
I think it's about mentally disconnecting, like turning your brain off after a busy day.
Exactly. It borrows the imagery of flipping an electrical switch and applies it to the brain. Very common in spoken English when someone needs a break from constant input.
Oh, interesting. So it's not literal at all. It's just using the switch idea as a metaphor for stopping.
Right, and you used it perfectly in your part 2. You said, quote, I just need to switch off, even for 15 minutes. The just need to framing makes it sound very natural.
Yeah, that one came out kind of automatically. It just felt like the right phrase for that moment.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 6 candidates often default to I want to rest or I want to relax. Both correct, both flat. Switch off adds that mental switch imagery and reads as more natural.
So is there a wrong way to use this? Like a place I shouldn't put it?
One thing to watch, don't follow it with an object in this mental sense. Switch off the meeting sounds wrong. It's intransitive here, unlike turning off a light. One more to bank. After a long Monday, I just need to switch off and watch something silly on TV. Try it.
After a long Monday, I just need to switch off and watch something silly on TV.
Lovely. That's a band 6 phrasal in your toolkit. Third up, every now and then. Gia, what does this phrase actually do in a sentence?
I think it just means sometimes, but in a more natural way. Like talking about something that doesn't happen often?
Exactly. It's a frequency adverbial, occasional, at irregular intervals. Same meaning as sometimes, but with a more conversational, native rhythm to it.
Oh, got it. So the meaning is the same, but the sound of it is what makes it feel more natural and grown up.
Spot on. And you used it really well in part 1. You said, quote, every now and then I'll just block out a Sunday and not leave the apartment. That little phrase makes the answer flow.
Yeah, I noticed if I'd said sometimes there, it would have sounded a bit basic, you know?
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 6 candidates default to sometimes for occasional frequency. Correct, but bare. Every now and then shows you have lexical range without reaching for hard words.
So how often should I actually be using this in a part 3 answer? Like every answer?
Once per long answer is the sweet spot. Overuse and it loses meaning. And don't stack it with sometimes in the same answer. Pick one and stick with it. One more to bank. I don't bake much, but every now and then I'll spend a Sunday afternoon making bread. Try it.
I don't bake much, but every now and then I'll spend a Sunday afternoon making bread.
Perfect. That's a small lift, but examiners notice it. Last one, do the trick. Gia, what role does this idiom play in a sentence?
I think it means something is enough to fix a small problem, like just enough to do the job.
Exactly. It's an idiom meaning sufficient or successful for a purpose. Most natural for habits, remedies, or small comforts that solve something cleanly.
Oh, so it's almost like a quiet little win, something simple that solves a recurring annoyance for you.
Beautifully put. And you used it really well in your part 2 closer. You said, quote, even 10 minutes there can do the trick. That little idiom warms up the whole sentence.
Yeah, I wanted to land the answer on something a bit more conversational, rather than just saying it works.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 6 candidates default to it works or it helps me. Do the trick carries the same meaning with native rhythm and a touch of warmth. That's the upgrade.
Are there any moments where I shouldn't use this? Like situations it doesn't really fit?
Yes, don't use it for life-changing solutions. It's for small, low-stakes fixes. Therapy did the trick for my depression sounds odd because the fix is too big for the idiom. One more to bank. When I can't sleep, a warm shower and 10 minutes of reading usually do the trick. Try it.
When I can't sleep, a warm shower and 10 minutes of reading usually do the trick.
Beautiful. That's a band 6 closer right there.
Good afternoon. Could I have your full name, please?
Yes, my name is Gia. You can call me Gia.
Thank you, Gia. Let's talk a little about your work. What do you do?
I work as a UX researcher at a small product team. We design apps, so a lot of my day is interviewing users and trying to figure out what's actually frustrating them. It's the kind of job that involves a lot of conversation.
Do you find it easy to share an opinion that's different from someone else's?
With friends? Sure. It just slips out. With seniors at work, I'd say I'm more careful. I usually try to hear them out first. That said, if I really think a decision is wrong, I'll push back. I'd rather be uncomfortable than fake agreement.
And do you think disagreements are usually a bad thing?
Not really, no. I'd say most of the time they actually move things forward. You find out what people are really thinking. The bad ones are the ones nobody says out loud.
Now, I'd like you to talk about a topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to prepare. You can make some notes if you wish. Here's your topic. Describe a time you disagreed with someone. You should say who you disagreed with, what you disagreed about, what happened in the end, and explain how you felt about it. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay, so the disagreement I want to talk about happened maybe 6 months ago with a senior designer on my team. Let's call her Mira. We were halfway through a project for a new app feature, and she wanted to ship a simpler version first to get user feedback fast. I really thought we needed more research time before launching anything, even something small. Honestly, when she pushed it in our team meeting, I kind of froze. I disagreed, but I didn't want to undermine her in front of everyone. After the meeting, I asked if we could grab a coffee and just talk it through one-on-one. And actually, once we sat down, I could see where she was coming from. She'd been on 3 projects that died because they over-researched and never shipped. That hit me because I hadn't thought of it from her angle at all. Still, I felt strongly that this particular feature touched something sensitive in users' workflow, and shipping a half-baked version could break trust. So I laid that out, calmly, with 2 specific examples. We ended up agreeing to meet in the middle, a 1-week deeper interview round, then a small launch with clear messaging that it was an early version. Looking back, I'm actually quite proud of how it went. I think the key was that I didn't make it about being right. I just made it about the user. And we still work together really well. Most disagreements don't end that cleanly, but this one taught me that pushing back is usually less scary than I expect.
Let's talk a bit more broadly about disagreements. Do you think it's important for people to express disagreement openly?
I'd say yes, usually. If you suppress it, it tends to leak out later as resentment, which is way worse. The way you express it matters a lot, though. There's a big difference between attacking the person and questioning the idea. If you can see where they're coming from, push back on the idea, and still keep the relationship intact, that's the real skill, I think.
Why do you think some people avoid disagreements at work?
A lot of it's about hierarchy, honestly. In a lot of workplaces, it just feels risky to disagree with someone above you, like you're going to be labeled difficult. Also, conflict takes energy. After a long week, most people will just nod and move on rather than open something up, which is understandable, but it kind of stores up problems for later.
And how do online discussions change the way people disagree?
Honestly, I think they make it harder to disagree well. Without facial expressions or tone, everything reads sharper than it's meant. And it's so easy to type fast when you're annoyed. You don't have that pause where you'd think, wait, am I being unfair? People also forget there's a real human on the other side. Most online arguments I've seen would have ended up totally differently in person.
Thank you, Gia. That's the end of the speaking test.
All right, nice work there, Gia. Before we wrap up, let's go back and look at a few of the expressions you used. I want you to really lock these in.
Yes, please. I'd love to get these down properly.
First up, see where they're coming from. Now, Gia, what does this phrase actually do in a sentence?
I think it's a way of saying I understand them, but with a bit more depth, like you're tracing how they arrived at the view, not just nodding at the view itself.
Exactly. It's an empathy collocation, and the image is the key. You're imagining the path their thinking took. That's why where is the load-bearing word.
Oh, interesting. So the where is doing all the work. I'd never noticed how small that word is for how much it carries.
Right. And you used it really cleanly in your part 3. You said, quote, if you can see where they're coming from, push back on the idea, and still keep the relationship intact, that's the real skill. 3 moves in 1 sentence.
Yeah, I wanted to land the idea that empathy and disagreement aren't actually opposites. You can do both at once.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 6 candidates default to, I understand them, or I get their point. Accurate but flat. This phrase shows you can hold someone's perspective and your own at the same time.
So is there a wrong way to use this? Like a moment where it would sound off?
Don't drop the from. I see where they're coming is incomplete and it stands out. And don't use it for a position you find genuinely unreasonable. It implies the other side has some logic worth tracing. One more to bank. Even when I totally disagree with my manager, I try to see where they're coming from before I push back. Try it.
Even when I totally disagree with my manager, I try to see where they're coming from before I push back.
Beautiful. That's a Band 7 phrase in your toolkit now.
Second one, meet in the middle. Gia, what's the picture this idiom paints in your head?
I think it's like two people walking toward each other from opposite sides and stopping where they meet. It's not really one person winning, it's both moving.
Exactly. The mutual movement is the heart of it. Both sides give up something. That's what makes it different from just agreeing.
Oh, got it. So if only one side moves, this idiom wouldn't really work. It needs both people to actually shift their position.
Spot on. And you used it beautifully in your part 2. You said, quote, "We ended up agreeing to meet in the middle, a 1 week deeper interview round, then a small launch." The compromise is right there in the example.
Yeah, that one felt natural because the actual outcome really was a compromise. Neither of us got everything we wanted.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 6 candidates close with, "We agreed," or "We found a solution," flat. Meet in the middle adds the image of two people moving, which is what compromise actually is.
Is there a small thing I should watch out for? Like a preposition that trips people up?
Yes, it's always in the middle, never at the middle. That proposition is fixed. And don't use it when only one person backed down. The idiom requires real mutual movement. One more to bank. When my flatmate and I argue about the heating bill, we usually meet in the middle and just split the extra. Try it.
When my flatmate and I argue about the heating bill, we usually meet in the middle and just split the extra.
Lovely. That's a Band 7 idiom you can land in any disagreement answer.
Third up, that said. Now, Gia, what does this two-word phrase actually do for your answer?
I think it's a way of saying but with a more grown-up feel. Like you're acknowledging what you just said and then turning the corner.
Exactly. It's a contrastive discourse marker, short for, I just said something, but here's a qualification. Very natural in spoken English.
Oh, interesting. So it's basically however, but warmer, and it doesn't sound like I'm reading from an essay.
Right. And you used it really well in part 1. You said, quote, "That said, if I really think a decision is wrong, I'll push back." The pivot is clean. You held one position and immediately added the qualification.
Yeah, that one came out naturally. I needed to soften the first half without contradicting it completely.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 6 candidates pivot with but or however. Both correct, both flat. That said is the spoken upgrade and instantly signals you can hold two ideas at once.
So how often should I be using it? Like every long answer or only sometimes?
Once per long answer. If you stack it twice, the effect flattens. Examiners notice the pattern. And don't pair it with but in the same sentence. The contrast is already baked in. One more to bank. I don't usually like long meetings. That said, the one this morning actually moved things forward. Try it.
I don't usually like long meetings. That said, the one this morning actually moved things forward.
Perfect. That's a clean Band 7 linker now. Last one, ended up. Gia, what kind of outcome does this phrasal pattern describe?
I think it's about an outcome that wasn't really planned. Like the situation kind of carried you toward it instead of you deciding it directly.
Exactly. It's a grammar pattern that frames results as emerging from the situation. The structure is end up plus ing for actions, or end up plus adjective for states.
Oh, got it. So if I planned the whole thing in advance, this phrase wouldn't really fit because it's specifically about arriving unexpected.
Spot on. And you used it really well in your part 2. You said, quote, "We ended up agreeing to meet in the middle." That phrasing makes the compromise feel like it emerged, not like you forced it.
Yeah, the whole point of that story was that the outcome wasn't where I started, so ended up just felt right for that beat.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 6 candidates default to, in the end we agreed, or finally we did it, flat. Ended up adds that sense of unplanned arrival, which makes the story feel real.
Is there a tiny thing I should watch out for, like a preposition that's easy to get wrong?
Yes, it's always ended up. Never ended in or ended with for this meaning, and don't use it for outcomes you actively planned. The whole point is that the result emerged. One more to bank. I only meant to read one chapter, but I ended up finishing the whole book that night. Try it.
I only meant to read one chapter, but I ended up finishing the whole book that night.
Beautiful. That's a band 7 grammar move you can drop into any narrative.
Good afternoon. Could I have your full name, please?
Yes, my name is Gia. You can call me Gia.
Thank you, Gia. Let's talk a little about your work. What do you do?
I'd say, I work as a marketing analyst at a small consultancy. We help mid-size brands figure out where their advertising money actually pays off. A lot of my day is staring at spreadsheets and sending decks around.
How do you usually catch up on news?
I'd say, I just open the news app on my commute. Sometimes a friend texts me a link out of the blue, and that's how I find out about big stories. I don't really watch TV news anymore.
Do you prefer to share news with people in person or by message?
It depends. For small things, I'll just send a message. But if it's something important, like really good news or really bad news, I'd rather call. Texting feels kind of flat for those moments, I think.
Now, I'd like you to talk about a topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to prepare. You can make some notes if you wish. Here's your topic. Describe a time you received some good news. You should say when this happened, what the news was, who told you, and explain how you felt about it. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay, so I'd like to talk about a piece of good news I got about 3 months ago. It came totally out of the blue, on a Wednesday afternoon. I was stuck in a long Zoom meeting at the time. My phone kept buzzing, and when I finally checked, my best friend Hannah had sent like 5 messages in a row. She'd been job hunting for almost a year, applying everywhere, and that day she got an offer from a company she'd basically given up on. Honestly, I just stared at my phone and went, "No way," out loud. But Hollins kind of looked at me. I couldn't believe my ears when she called me right after the meeting and told me the salary. It was way more than she was expecting, too. As it turned out, the company had reorganized that month and suddenly needed someone with her exact background, so the timing was almost perfect. I felt really proud of her and also relieved because I'd watched her go through so many rejections. We met for dinner that weekend and I cried a little at the table, which kind of surprised both of us. So yeah, that was a small piece of good news that really stuck with me.
Let's talk a bit more broadly about news and how people share it. Why do you think people enjoy sharing good news with others?
I think it's just human. When something good happens, you want someone to share it with. It's also a way of being closer to people. If you only share the bad news, the relationship can start to feel kind of heavy. Sharing good news balances that out, I think.
Do you think social media has changed how good news spreads?
Yeah, definitely. News spreads way faster now. Sometimes you find out about a friend's engagement on Instagram before they actually message you. That can feel a bit weird, honestly. But it also means you don't lose touch with people as easily. So it's both, I think.
Is it always a good idea to share good news with everyone right away?
Probably not, no. Sometimes when you tell people too early, things can fall through. As it turned out, a friend of mine announced a promotion before signing the contract, and the offer ended up changing on her. So I'd say it's safer to wait until things are confirmed before you spread it around.
Thank you, Gia. That's the end of the speaking test.
All right, nice work there, Gia. Before we wrap up, let's go back and look at a few of the expressions you used. I want you to really lock these in.
Yes, please. I'd love to get these down properly.
First up, out of the blue. Now, Gia, what does this idiom actually paint in your head?
I think it's the picture of a clear blue sky, and then suddenly something just appears, like a thunderclap when there's no warning at all.
Exactly. The image of a sudden change against a calm background, that's what makes the idiom feel so unexpected. It's basically a fixed swap for suddenly or unexpectedly.
Oh, got it. So it's not just a fancy suddenly, it actually has the picture built into it. That flat suddenly doesn't really carry.
Right, and you used it really cleanly in your part 2. You said, quote, "It came totally out of the blue on a Wednesday afternoon." The whole story is anchored in 7 words.
Yeah, that line just felt like the natural way to open it. I wanted to anchor that nothing about that day was supposed to be special.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 5.5 candidates default to suddenly or unexpectedly, both correct, both flat. Out of the blue is the spoken upgrade and instantly signals lexical range.
So, is there a moment where this would actually sound off? Like, is there a wrong place to drop it into a story?
Yes, don't use it for events you saw coming. If you'd been told to expect the news, out of the blue clashes with the truth of the story. Save it for genuinely unexpected moments. One more to bank. My old classmate called me out of the blue last week. We hadn't spoken in years. Try it.
My old classmate called me out of the blue last week. We hadn't spoken in years.
Lovely. That's a band 6 idiom you can land in any surprise story.
Second one, couldn't believe my ears. Gia, what's the picture this collocation gives you?
I think it's almost like your ears are fact-checking the words. Like the news is so unexpected that your hearing itself doubts it for a second.
Exactly. It's a reaction collocation that anchors surprise to a specific sense, hearing. The body part is doing the surprised work, which is what makes it more vivid than "I was shocked."
Oh, interesting. So it's specifically tied to news that someone told me out loud, not news I read in a message or saw on a screen.
Right. The phrase asks for a moment of hearing, a phone call, a face-to-face conversation, a voice memo. Use it for something you read, and the body image starts to feel off.
Got it. And in my part 2, I used it for the moment Hannah actually called me, not for when I first saw her messages on my phone.
Exactly, and that's what made it land. You said, quote, "I couldn't believe my ears when she called me right after the meeting." The reaction is tied to the moment of hearing, not the messages.
Yeah, that one came naturally, because the message felt different from her actually telling me out loud. The call was where it really hit.
And that's the band lift. Band 5.5 candidates close the reaction with "I was very surprised," flat. "Couldn't believe my ears" grounds the same reaction in a sense, which makes the listener feel it. One more to bank. "When my dad told me he'd booked us tickets to Japan, I couldn't believe my ears." Try it.
When my dad told me he'd booked us tickets to Japan, I couldn't believe my ears.
Beautiful. That's a band 6 collocation in your toolkit now.
Third up, no way. Now, Gia, what does this 2-word phrase do that "I was very surprised" doesn't?
I think it's about putting the listener inside the actual moment. Instead of describing the surprise from outside, you're quoting yourself in the second it happened.
Exactly. It's an embedded direct speech reaction. Quoting your real-time response makes the story feel immediate. The listener hears what you heard yourself say.
Oh, got it. So the magic is really in the quote marks, not in the words themselves. The phrase only works because I'm acting out my own reaction.
Spot on. And you used it really naturally in your part 2. You said, quote, "I just stared at my phone and went, 'No way,' out loud." The whole scene snaps into focus in that one beat.
Yeah, that line is what I actually said in real life. So it didn't feel like I was performing. I was just remembering it honestly.
And that's exactly the band lift. Band 5.5 candidates report surprise from a distance. "I was very surprised," or "I could not believe it." Quoting yourself drops the listener into the moment with you.
So is there a wrong way to use this? Like a place where it would actually sound off in an answer?
Yes, don't quote yourself for an event that wasn't actually surprising. If the reaction is performed rather than remembered, examiners can hear it. And don't pile up multiple "no ways." Once is the moment, twice is theatre. One more to bank. "When she said she'd already paid the bill, I just looked at her and went, 'No way.'" Try it.
When she said she'd already paid the bill, I just looked at her and went, "No way."
Perfect. That's a band 6 reaction trick you can drop into any surprise story.
Last one. As it turned out. Gia, what does this linker actually do for a story?
I think it signals there's more to the story than I knew at the time. Like I'm reaching back from now to add a fact that explains the past beat.
Exactly. It's a narrative discourse marker for revealing a later-known fact. The structure is, as it turned out, plus a clause that adds context the listener didn't have yet.
Oh, got it. So it's specifically for facts I learned later, not for things that simply happen next in the timeline.
Right. After that is for sequence. As it turned out is for revelation. The two are easy to confuse, but the listener feels the difference straight away.
And in my part 2, I used it to explain why the company actually made the offer. That wasn't info Hannah or I had at the moment of the call.
Exactly, and that's what made it land. You said, quote, as it turned out, the company had reorganized that month and suddenly needed someone with her exact background. Pure revelation, perfectly placed.
Yeah, the story would feel weirdly incomplete without that beat. The offer makes way more sense once you know about the reorganization.
And that's the band lift. Band 5.5 candidates link with after that or later I learned, flat and chronological. As it turned out adds shape, which is what good storytelling actually is. One more to bank. I almost skipped the party. As it turned out, that was where I met my flatmate of 3 years. Try it.
I almost skipped the party. As it turned out, that was where I met my flatmate of 3 years.
Lovely. That's a band 6 linker you can land in any reflective story.